Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. In a spacious villa on the sunny outskirts of town lives the Ethan family. Ethan is a retired Special Forces soldier who now runs a private security company. He lives a quiet and happy life with his wife Olivia and their three lovely children, Connor, 10, and twin sisters Emma and Sophia, 7. Ethan wakes up every morning at 5 o'clock sharp, a habit left over from his military career. He'll start with an hour-long morning workout, followed by a shower and a breakfast prepared by Olivia. After kissing his wife goodbye and dropping the kids off at school, he drove downtown to his office. As an entrepreneur with a Special Forces background, Ethan understands the importance of balancing work and family. He always made an effort to be home by 6 p.m. to spend time with the kids doing homework and preparing dinner with Olivia. After dinner, the family would share their day in the living room, sometimes watching a movie or playing board games together. This pace of life was immensely satisfying for Ethan, who considered his family to be the most precious asset in his life. However, a subtle change in the quiet life began to occur. Ethan noticed something unusual about Olivia's behavior. She began to work overtime frequently, often not returning home until 8 or 9 p.m. She also became bolder in her dressing style and started buying some expensive designer clothes and jewelry. Even more disturbing to Ethan is the fact that Olivia's intimacy with him dwindles, and she always excuses herself by saying she's too tired from work or has a headache. At first, Ethan attributed the changes to increased stress at Olivia's job. Olivia works as a senior designer for a well-known fashion design company, and recently the company has received several large projects and her workload has skyrocketed. Ethan tries to be understanding and supportive of his wife's career development, but his inner turmoil grows with each passing day. Ethan begins to become suspicious of Olivia's boss, William Parker. William is a renowned designer in the industry and the founder of the company. Whenever Ethan goes to the office to pick up Olivia from work, he always sees William and Olivia talking and laughing in the office. William shows obvious possessiveness towards Olivia, often leaving her at the office late on the pretext of work. One day, Ethan decided to surprise Olivia. He leaves work early, buys a huge bouquet of roses, and plans to take Olivia to her favorite French restaurant for dinner. However, when he arrives at Olivia's office, the scene in front of him sends him reeling. Olivia is snuggling intimately with William on the couch, their lips almost pressed together. Ethan froze in place, the rose in his hand dropping to the floor. Olivia and William are startled by the sudden noise, and both stand up in a panic when they see Ethan. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" Olivia stammered, a hint of panic and guilt on her face. William, on the other hand, tried to appear calm, but the panic in his eyes betrayed him. "Ethan, it's not what you think. We were just discussing work." Ethan took a deep breath, forced himself to hold back the anger and pain inside, and calmly said, "Olivia, we need to talk. Now, go home." The car was silent on the way home. Ethan grips the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles turn white. Olivia keeps her head down, afraid to look her husband in the eye. Back at the house, Ethan gestures for Olivia to sit down. Trying to keep his emotions in check, he calmly asked, "Tell me the truth, Olivia. What exactly is your relationship with William?" Olivia was silent for a few moments before finally lifting her head and looking Ethan straight in the eye. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. William and I have been together for 3 months." Ethan felt his heart being ripped out hard. With difficulty he asked, "Why? Is something wrong with our marriage?" Olivia shook her head. "No, Ethan, you're not the problem. William gave me a different life. He was able to take me into higher-end social circles and to fashion events. I fell in love with that life." Ethan looked incredulously at the strange woman in front of him. "So, what are you going to do? Divorce?" Olivia took a deep breath and said something that shocked Ethan even more. "No, Ethan, I don't want a divorce. I want us to stay as we are. I'll continue to be your wife and take care of the kids, but at the same time I want to be with William." Ethan couldn't believe his ears that his once beloved wife had made such a heinous suggestion. He felt a surge of intense anger surge through him, but years of special forces training kept him calm. "Olivia," Ethan said in a low voice, "did you really think I would accept this arrangement? You betrayed me, you betrayed our marriage, and now you want me to acquiesce to your infidelity?" Olivia seemed a little flustered, but quickly regained her composure. "Ethan, you need time to think about it. It would be good for all of us. William could provide us with a better life. The kids could go to better schools, and we could live in a bigger house." Ethan shook his head, disappointment and pain in his eyes. "Don't you understand, Olivia, that money and status aren't what's important? Our family, our love, those are the truly precious things." Just then, the doorbell rang. Ethan walks to the door and finds William standing outside with a tall, lanky man. "We need to talk, Ethan," William said arrogantly. Ethan knows that a bigger storm is coming. He took a deep breath and prepared to face the night that would change his life. Ethan stood in the doorway, facing William and the tall man beside him. He took a deep breath and tried to remain calm. "Come in," he said, a hint of suppressed anger in his voice. William struts into the living room as if it were his own home. The man beside him followed close behind, looking around warily. Ethan noticed the way the man stood and looked at him, and immediately realized that he was probably a trained bodyguard. "This is Max, my personal bodyguard," William introduced, a hint of braggadocio in his tone. "I think we need to talk, Ethan." Olivia sat on the couch and looked nervously at the three men. Ethan kept his distance, his back against the wall, an instinct from his years of special forces training. William sat down and crossed his legs with a winning expression. "Ethan, I'm sure Olivia has already explained to you about our arrangement. I want you to be sensible about this." Ethan looked at William coldly. "You call this an arrangement? You destroyed my family, and you expect me to accept it?" William smiled nonchalantly. "Don't be so dramatic, Ethan. We're both adults and should handle this in a mature way. I can offer you guys a better life. Think about it. Bigger houses, better schools, luxury vacations. It would be good for everyone." Ethan felt a wave of nausea. "You think money can buy everything? What about my dignity? What about my family?" William's expression suddenly became serious. "Look, Ethan, I'm not asking for your permission. I'm telling you that this is reality. If you don't cooperate, there will be serious consequences." "You're threatening me?" Ethan's voice was low and dangerous. William leaned forward. "I don't like to use the word threat. Let's put it another way. I have the power to make you lose everything. Your job? I know a few of your company's big clients, and I can get them to divest with one phone call. Your reputation? I can spread rumors against you that will make you unable to hold your head up in this city." Ethan felt angry, but he forced himself to stay calm. His mind raced, assessing the current situation. William continued, "And, don't forget, I have a lot of friends. The police chief, the district attorney, and even some judges. If you try to take any legal action, I guarantee you'll regret it." Ethan looks over at Olivia and realizes she has her head down, afraid to meet his eyes. He realizes that his wife has been completely bought off by William. "So, what's your endgame?" Ethan asked, disgust in his voice. William gave a smug smile. "It's simple. You continue to be the good husband and father you are. To the outside world, we'll just be good friends. But in private, Olivia will be with me. We'll attend social events together and travel together. And of course, you'll be compensated. I'll make sure your company gets some big clients, and your income will multiply several times over." Ethan felt a wave of vertigo. The proposal is so ridiculous, so sickening. But he knew he had to be careful how he dealt with it. William is clearly a dangerous man with extensive connections and influence. Ethan took a deep breath and tried to keep his voice steady. "I need time to think about it." William stood up and straightened his expensive suit. "Very well, I'll give you 3 days. Remember, Ethan, smart people know what to choose." Just as William turned to leave, Ethan noticed his laptop on the coffee table. That could contain William's design sketches and trade secrets. A plan was rapidly taking shape in Ethan's mind. William and Max walked toward the door, Ethan following. Just as William is about to step over the threshold, Ethan swoops in. He used his years of special forces training to strike quickly and precisely. First, He hit Max in the neck with a handful of slashes, knocking the tall bouncer off balance. He then quickly turns around and trips William to the ground with a sweeping kick. William screamed in horror, "Max, protect me!" But before Max has time to react, Ethan has taken control of the situation. He quickly grabbed Max's sidearm and struck Max hard in the back of the head with the handle, rendering the burly man unconscious. Ethan aimed his gun at William. "Now, let's talk about those friends and influences of yours." William sat paralyzed and pale. "Ethan, calm down. We can negotiate." Ethan sneered. "Negotiate? Like you just negotiated with me?" He walks over to the coffee table and picks up William's laptop. "I'm guessing there's a lot of interesting stuff on here. Your designs, your client list, and maybe some unseen transaction records?" A flash of fear flashed in William's eyes. "Ethan, come on. That computer has all my work on it." Ethan ignored William's pleas. He threw the laptop on the floor and stomped on it. William let out a desperate cry. Ethan turns to Olivia, who has been sitting on the couch, dumbfounded, watching it all happen. "Olivia, call William's wife. Tell her everything." Olivia shuddered and pulled out her cell phone, but William yelled, "No! Olivia, stop!" Ethan said coldly, "Either you fight yourself or I will. The choice is yours, William." William grits his teeth, pulls out his cell phone, and dials his wife's number. Under Ethan's watchful eye, William is forced to confess everything to his wife. There were hysterical cries on the other end of the line. William's face turns pale as he realizes his carefully constructed life is falling apart. Ethan called the emergency police while signaling Olivia to contact a neighbor. Soon, sirens sounded in the distance. Just then, William bursts out and tries to take the gun out of Ethan's hand. The two wrestled and Ethan felt a sharp pain as William hit him in the forehead with an ashtray from the coffee table. Despite a head injury and blurred vision, Ethan uses his years of combat experience to gain the upper hand. He slammed William to the ground with force, subduing the man who was attempting to escape. The police arrived on the scene quickly. Ethan briefly explains the situation, and the police handcuff William and the newly awakened Max and take them away. The ambulance then arrived. Paramedics examined Ethan's injuries and concluded that he needed immediate medical attention. Before being put in the ambulance, Ethan glanced at Olivia. She stood in the doorway, tears streaming down her face, looking both guilty and confused. "Ethan, Olivia opened her mouth, but Ethan interrupted her. "Wait until I get out of the hospital, Olivia. Right now, I need time to think." As the ambulance siren sounded, Ethan lay on the stretcher and felt a wave of vertigo. He knew that this was only the beginning of the storm and that greater challenges awaited him. But at the moment, he just wanted to close his eyes and give his tired body and mind a moment's rest. The sirens of an ambulance cut through the night sky, transporting Ethan quickly to a suburban hospital. Ethan struggled to stay awake in the bumpy car, but the sharp pain in his head and the loss of blood sent a wave of dizziness through him. His thoughts began to blur, and everything that had just happened kept flashing before his eyes. William's threats, Olivia's betrayal, the intense fight. Finally, he couldn't hold it together and fell into a coma. When Ethan opened his eyes again, the blinding white light made him squint. He slowly adjusted to the light and found himself lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by the ticking of various instruments. A nurse in her 60s was checking his vitals. "Awake?" The nurse asked gently. "I'm Nurse Rose. You've been in a coma for 3 days, and we've all been worried about you." "3 days?" Ethan asked, his voice hoarse with surprise. Rose nodded. "Yes, you're badly hurt. I'll go get the doctor." It wasn't long before a middle-aged man walked into the room and introduced himself as Dr. York. He explained Ethan's injuries in detail: a broken right forearm, a broken nose, a badly bruised left eye, and a minor concussion. "We had to sedate you," Dr. York said. "Your concussion wasn't serious, but we needed to watch it closely. It seems to be getting better now." Ethan tries to sit up, but suddenly realizes something is restraining his left wrist. He looked down and realized he was handcuffed to the bed rail. "What's going on here?" Ethan asked in shock. Just then, a middle-aged man in a suit stood up from the corner of the ward. "Relax, Mr. Ethan," he said. I'm Detective Hardman. We're concerned that you may be trying to escape. Run away? Ethan felt a wave of absurdity. Why would I want to run away? Detective Hardman's expression turned serious. Mr. Ethan, you are under arrest. You are facing multiple charges, including intent to murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and other charges such as unlawful discharge of a firearm. These charges were filed by Mr. William Parker on behalf of himself, Mr. Max, and your wife Olivia. Ethan felt a wave of vertigo and couldn't believe his ears. It's impossible, he muttered. I was acting in self-defense. They threatened me, and I was just defending myself? Detective Hardman shrugged. That's why we have a court system, Mr. Ethan. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to an attorney, and if you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand these rights? Ethan nodded mechanically, his insides filled with shock and anger. He knew William had extensive connections, but he didn't think it would come to this. I need to make a phone call, Ethan said. I need to contact my attorney. Detective Hardman nods. Of course, that's your right. However, I suggest you get some rest first. The doctor said you'll need to be kept under observation for a few more days. Once you've been transferred to the general ward, we'll arrange for you to meet with your attorney. Ethan lay back down on his bed and closed his eyes, feeling a wave of exhaustion wash over him. He knew that the real battle had just begun. Over the next few days, Ethan was moved to another room in the hospital with a police officer guarding the door 24 hours a day. His injuries gradually improved, but his inner torment grew. He kept thinking back to everything that happened that night, trying to make sense of it. On Ethan's 5th day in the hospital, a young public defender, Sam Wilton, came to visit him. Sam details the charges Ethan is facing, which are the same charges Detective Hardman mentioned earlier. So, Mr. Ethan, Sam asked, how do you plan on pleading guilty? If you plead guilty to some of the lesser charges, we may be able to negotiate with the prosecutor for a lesser sentence. Ethan interrupted, I'm not pleading guilty, Sam. I'm innocent. Sam seemed a little surprised, but continued, I understand how you feel, Mr. Ethan, but the evidence is stacked against you. Your wife, Olivia, gave testimony claiming that you had committed domestic violence against her. She offered photos of bruises on her face and arms as evidence. Ethan felt a sharp pang of betrayal and anger. I never hit her, he said firmly. Those injuries must have been caused by William. Sam looked a little skeptical, but didn't say much. Ethan realizes that the young lawyer may not fully believe his testimony. Sam, Ethan said, I need you to put me in touch with someone. My uncle, Jack Carter. He's a retired Navy lawyer. I'd like to ask him to help me. Sam nodded. I will contact him as soon as I can. But Mr. Ethan, I must remind you not to say anything other than the answer, not guilty, at the trial. Later that night, Sam returns to confirm that Uncle Jack will be arriving soon. The next day, Ethan appeared at the pretrial hearing via video. As Sam suggested, he pleaded not guilty to all charges. The prosecutor asked the judge to deny Ethan bail, but the judge allowed Ethan to stay in the hospital for 2 more days before being transferred to jail. Just a day before Ethan was to be moved, Uncle Jack finally arrived. The moment he saw Uncle Jack, Ethan felt a wave of relief. After they briefly caught up, Uncle Jack immediately got down to business. He arranges a private setting for the conversation and then updates Ethan about his family. The kids are living with Lucy now, Jack said. Lucy is confused. Olivia told her what happened and the accusations against you, but Lucy found it hard to believe after knowing you for so many years. She's glad I came to help you. Seeing Ethan's puzzled expression, Jack explained, Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to clarify. Lucy is Olivia's sister and your children's aunt. She has always been close to your family and is now taking care of the kids for the time being. Ethan nodded, grateful to Lucy for taking care of his children during this difficult time. Then Uncle Jack asked seriously, Now, Ethan, I need you to tell me the truth. What really happened? Ethan took a deep breath, then whispered the whole story to Uncle Jack. He describes how William, Max, and Olivia threatened him and how he fought back in self-defense. Speaking of which, Ethan suddenly remembered a key detail. Uncle, Ethan whispered, I have the whole thing on video? Uncle Jack raised an eyebrow. Videotaping? How did you videotape that? Ethan explains, that night, when Olivia told me about her and William, I had a feeling something wasn't right. I'm an ex-special forces officer, and we're trained to deal with dangerous situations. Instinct told me to leave evidence in case things got out of hand. So I quietly put my iPhone in my shirt pocket and set it to record. Jack nodded, appreciating Ethan's foresight. Ethan continued, then William and Max came and things went as you know they would. The whole thing was recorded on my cell phone. After the fight, I hid my cell phone in a drawer in the kitchen. I'm not sure the police found it. Uncle Jack didn't have much expression on his face as he listened, but Ethan could tell he was relieved. This evidence is critical, Jack said, but we can't expose it too soon. If we bring it out now, it could be suppressed or its legitimacy questioned. We need to use it at the right time. So how do we get the phone back? Ethan asked, worried that evidence might be lost. Jack thought for a moment. I'll think of something. Maybe I can arrange a meeting with Olivia and find a way to get into the house. It would need to be done discreetly, though. We can't risk being accused of tampering with evidence or trespassing. Ethan nodded, trusting his uncle's judgment completely. So what do we do now? He asked. Uncle Jack gave a firm smile. Now, let's start preparing your defense. You focus on your recovery and let me take care of the rest. I'll be your guardian angel to get you through this. I will also hire a private investigator to look into William and his network of contacts. We need as much information as possible for the upcoming legal battle. Ethan felt a glimmer of hope rise within him. Though the road ahead is still difficult, with Uncle Jack's help, he believes the truth will eventually come out. Thank you, Uncle, Ethan said sincerely. I don't know what I'd do without you. Jack patted Ethan on the shoulder. Family is for supporting each other in hard times. We'll get through this together. For now, you need to rest. We'll discuss the strategy in detail tomorrow. Ethan closed his eyes as Jack left the hospital room. Although he was still handcuffed to the bed and facing serious charges, he felt a glimmer of hope for the first time. With crucial video evidence and Uncle Jack's help, he believes he will finally be cleared of any wrongdoing and regain his freedom. Over the next few weeks, Uncle Jack devoted himself to Ethan's case. Like a seasoned commander, he develops a detailed strategy while mobilizing resources to defend Ethan. Despite the difficulties, Jack's determination is undiminished. First, Jack hires Sarah Martinez, an experienced private investigator. Sarah was once an accomplished police detective, but was forced to leave her job after exposing corruption within the police department. Her dedication to justice and keen insight are just what Jack needs. Sarah, Jack said during their first meeting, I need you to investigate William Parker and his network of contacts. Pay particular attention to his ties to the police and the justice system. Any possible bribes, threats, or shady dealings we need to know about. Sarah nodded, excitement sparkling in her eyes. I understand, Mr. Carter. I will thoroughly investigate Parker's background, including his business dealings, social circle, and any suspicious financial transactions. Meanwhile, Jack begins working on another critical problem: how to get Ethan's cell phone back. The video stored on this cell phone is key evidence in proving Ethan's innocence, but it remains hidden in Ethan and Olivia's home. After careful consideration, Jack decides to contact Olivia directly to propose a meeting. He hopes the meeting will not only allow him to retrieve his cell phone, but also to learn more about the case. Olivia, Jack said over the phone, I'm Jack, Ethan's uncle. I was hoping that we could meet and talk about how to resolve the current situation. Maybe we can find a solution that works for everyone. Olivia hesitates for a moment and finally agrees to meet, but insists that an assistant from William's law firm be present. Jack agreed to the terms, and they agreed to meet at Ethan and Olivia's home at 6 p.m. the next day. Jack arrived at Ethan's house on time the next evening. Olivia looks tired and nervous as she briefly hugs Jack. Gordon Merritt, a young assistant at William's law firm, was also present, watching Jack's every move warily. They sit in the living room and Olivia offers to pour coffee for everyone. It was then that Jack seized the opportunity. Olivia, could you please get me a glass of water? I'm a little thirsty. Jack requested politely. Olivia nodded and walked to the kitchen. Jack followed, pretending to be trying to help. In the kitchen, He quickly scanned the area and soon found Ethan's iPhone in a drawer next to the sink. Jack quickly shoved his cell phone into his pocket while Olivia poured water with her back to him. Back in the living room, Jack began the negotiations. He implies that he believes the allegations against Ethan, suggesting that Ethan may have lost his mind because he misunderstood Olivia and William's relationship. Gordon Merritt showed interest in this, but insisted that the evidence was against Ethan. Jack skillfully steers the conversation by suggesting that if Ethan pleads guilty, he might be able to consider mitigating some of the charges. Merritt stated that he needs to discuss this with William because William has a lot of influence with the prosecutor. Before leaving, Jack poignantly reminded Olivia and Merritt, if it later turns out that Ethan's story is true, the charges of perjury and obstruction of justice are serious. I hope you're both aware of that. After leaving Ethan's house, Jack didn't immediately return to his place. Instead, he headed straight to the offices of digital analytics firm DOS. DOS is a specialist data recovery and analysis company, and Jack trusts them to safely extract and preserve critical evidence from his phone. In DOS's office, Jack briefed David, the lead analyst, on the situation. This phone may contain critical video evidence, Jack explained. I need you to not only extract the video, but also make sure that its integrity is not questioned. We may need to use this evidence in court. David nodded in understanding. Don't worry, Mr. Carter. We'll use state-of-the-art technology to extract and preserve the data. We'll create multiple backups and make sure the entire process is well documented to prevent anyone from questioning the authenticity of the evidence. A few days later, David contacted Jack to inform him that they had successfully extracted all the data from the phone. Jack immediately rushed to DOS's office and couldn't wait to check out the contents of the video. As they played the video, Jack felt a wave of relief. The video clearly captures the entire incident, including William and Max's threats, as well as Ethan's act of self-defense. While some of the clips are a little blurry from the intense fighting, there's enough overall to prove Ethan's innocence. To Jack's further surprise, DOS team discovered some additional information. In the aftermath of the incident, someone had attempted to remotely access Ethan's cell phone in an attempt to plant some suspicious photos and messages. This was probably an attempt to plant evidence, David explained. Fortunately, because the phone had been turned off, these operations were not successful. Jack realizes that these discoveries will not only prove Ethan's innocence, but may also expose William and his associates' criminal intentions. He decided to hold on to this information for the time being, waiting for the most appropriate time to release it in court. As he left DOS's office, Jack was filled with hope. He now has strong evidence in his hands to clear Ethan's name. But he also knows that the next legal battle will be exceptionally difficult. William Parker obviously has extensive contacts and influence, and they need to move very carefully. Back at the office, Jack began to carefully plan his next move. He needs to prepare Ethan's defense strategy in secret without alerting the other side. At the same time, he is considering how best to utilize this newly discovered evidence. Just as Jack is fully engaged in the case, Sarah brings some disturbing news. She discovered that William Parker had recently been in close contact with several high-ranking police officers and a magistrate judge. This further confirms Jack's fears that the case may have been rigged and that they are in for an uphill battle. Despite the difficulties, Jack's resolve has strengthened. He knew that the truth would eventually come out and justice would be served. Now, all he needed to do was wait patiently for the right moment to strike. The day of the court hearing has finally arrived, and there is tension and anticipation in the air. The courtroom was filled to capacity, and everyone was waiting with bated breath to witness this remarkable trial. Ethan sits at the defense table, dressed in a neat suit, with a calm but determined look in his eyes. Uncle Jack sat beside him, exuding confidence and aplomb. Across the street was the imposing team of prosecutors, led by Assistant District Attorney Linda Thompson. The judge bangs his gavel and calls the trial to order. The prosecution began its case by painting a horrific picture of an out-of-control former Special Forces soldier attacking innocent citizens. Then they started calling witnesses. William Parker was the first witness on the stand. He describes a horrible experience that night, claiming that he only went to talk to Ethan and was violently and unprovoked. In his description, Ethan becomes a dangerous madman. When it was Uncle Jack's turn to cross-examine, He asked only one question, "Mr. Parker, do you swear that your testimony is completely true?" Without hesitation, William replied, "Yes, I am under oath." Jack nodded and asked no further questions, which puzzled the people in the gallery. Max next appeared as a witness, and his testimony was much the same as William's. Jack still only asked the same question and got an affirmative answer. Finally, Olivia took the witness stand. Her voice trembled and she had tears in her eyes as she described how Ethan had become violent and irrational. She even showed pictures of bruises on her body, claiming they were caused by Ethan. When Jack got up and was ready to ask, everyone held their breath in anticipation of what amazing things he would do. Yet again, Jack asked only that simple question, "Olivia, do you swear that your testimony is completely true?" Olivia hesitated, but replied, "Yes, I'm under oath." The prosecution looked smug. They think they have a win. However, Jack's calm expression unnerved them. When it was the defense's turn to present, Jack stood up. He looked around the courtroom and then said, "Your Honor, the defense wishes to submit a video as evidence. This video records the entire process on the night of the crime and is sufficient to prove my client's innocence." The prosecutor immediately objected, claiming that this was new evidence submitted on an ad hoc basis and that they had not had a chance to review it. Jack was prepared for this as he explained, "Your Honor, we have kept this video until now due to concerns that the evidence may have been tampered with or hidden. We have good reason to suspect that the prosecution and certain witnesses may be attempting to interfere with the course of justice." The judge frowned and asked, "Mr. Carter, are you accusing the DA's office of misconduct?" Jack replied, "Not only that, Your Honor. We suspect that the entire judicial system may have been unduly influenced in this case." The courtroom was in an uproar. The judge banged his gavel hard and demanded silence. He looked at Jack seriously. "This is a major accusation, Mr. Carter. You better have enough evidence to back up your claims." Jack nodded. "The evidence is in this video, Your Honor. I asked the court to allow us to show this video." After a short deliberation, the judge granted Jack's request. As the court technician prepares to play the video, William and Olivia's faces turn pale, while Max appears fidgety. The video began to play, and the entire courtroom fell into dead silence. The footage clearly shows how William and Max threaten Ethan and try to force him to accept unreasonable demands. A gasp erupted from the gallery when the video played to William's claim that he could manipulate the police and the justice system. After the video ended, Jack continued, "Your Honor, not only do we have this video, but we have also discovered that someone attempted to remotely access my client's cell phone in an attempt to plant false evidence. We have reason to believe that this was an elaborate frame-up plot." The atmosphere in the courtroom changed completely. The DA's team looks overwhelmed, and William and Olivia are ashen. The judge said solemnly, "In view of this new evidence, I adjourn the hearing. The prosecutor's office will need to reassess their position. In the meantime, I will request an independent investigation to verify these allegations." Over the next few weeks, the case took a dramatic turn. The DA's office dropped all charges against Ethan. Meanwhile, William, Max, and Olivia were arrested on multiple charges, including perjury and attempted obstruction of justice. The investigation also extended to the police department and the justice system, revealing a complex network of bribery and influence that William had built up over the years. A number of police officers and a magistrate have been suspended from duty and are under investigation for their involvement. In the end, William was sentenced to 11 years in prison, Max received a 7-year sentence, and Olivia was sentenced to 5 years. For Ethan, this nightmare is finally over. He was completely cleared of any wrongdoing and received a sizable settlement. However, he knows he has a long way to go to rebuild his life and repair his relationship with his children. At the press conference, Ethan stood next to Uncle Jack and thanked his supporters. He said, "This experience has taught me to never give up hope and faith in justice. I want to give a special thanks to my Uncle Jack, whose wisdom and persistence allowed the truth to come out." Jack smiled modestly and said, "I just did what any lawyer should do: seek the truth and deliver justice." This case reminds us that our justice system is not perfect, but as long as we persevere, justice will eventually be served. As the dust settles, Ethan begins to think about his future. He decided to use his experience to help others in similar predicaments, perhaps by starting an organization that provides support to victims of injustice. This story is not only about how one man overcame injustice, but also about how truth and justice can ultimately triumph over lies and corruption. It reminds us that even in the darkest moments, if we persevere, the light of hope will eventually light our way. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.